Hello all, welcome back to testingtools.co channel. In the previous session, we have seen that how you can read data from an Excel file and use that in your script. And we also have learned about why we should externalize the data and what are the benefits out of it. Right? So I have explained about how you can create one single row of test data and then you will automate that particular scenario. And I've also mentioned about that we will talk in the next session about how you can add multiple items to the cart and what we should do in the Excel file as how the test data should be given and what changes you should do in the code, right? So we are going to look into that, but I want to let you know that if you observed in the previous session, every second or every moment is very important in the session because there are cases where suddenly we saw some issues. We have seen how to troubleshoot them, how to fix them. So the only recommendation from my side is do not skip any part of the video and continue to watch it carefully and end to end so that you will not miss any important parts. Okay. Now we are putting a lot of efforts in doing these things. If you are feeling that I'm adding value, I would request you to please like the video, and then if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. Okay, and also share it with other people who are also wanting to learn Java Selenium kind of tutorials or whatever knowledge, right? So let's get into the actual part of the video today. So we'll see how we can add multiple items and what changes to be done. Okay. I'll also open the Excel file where the test data is given. So if you go to the code, you will see where is this. Okay. So here if you see there is a item column and only one item we have added. Right. There is another way that if you want to still achieve, you can add more columns for each item and then put the item. But that is not scalable because if you want to have sometimes run for single item or sometimes you want to run for multiple items, you have to keep on increasing and decreasing the columns in the rest data file, okay, which is not a good thing. And also in the code you have to keep on changing because every item column will have a different name and you have to add code to retrieve data from that particular column every time. So instead of that, today we will see how we can do a better way. Okay. First thing what we should do is, I don't know if you know about database relations kind of things. There is a parent key and a foreign key. Like for example, when you're registering to any portal or something, you will register, and if they ask an address, you will give one address, like your permanent address or something. But there are some cases where you have to store multiple addresses. Like for example, what is your permanent address? What is your current communication address? Okay, what is your parent's address? I'm just giving an example, hypothetically. Okay, so what happens in that time is you will have details of yourself, like your first name, last name, gender, and all those things, right? But you should also maintain different kinds of addresses. Then what they do is only the details of you is the main record, and whatever addresses you want to give, those are called child records. That is same as what we call as parent and child relation. So if you see here, this is your parent, okay, and then we will delete this now, and I will create another sheet, and I just added it. Okay. So what I did, I removed the item from the first sheet, right, and then added it into second sheet. Now we are talking about a relation. So here, this particular record is considered as a parent record, and this is called a child record. Okay. Now maybe I can add more items. Okay. So I can add more items. Let me give different name so that it will be more easy to understand. Okay, for now let's just check with two items. So here one more thing, as I said, this is my parent record and these are my two child records. Okay. But what if I have multiple parent records? Okay. And each parent might have different number of child records, right? See, there are, suppose you take a class in a school or something. There'll be one student. There'll be n number of students like here. So there'll be n number of records, whoever wants to log in. And for each record, we want to have some set of multiple items that they want to have, okay, that they want to buy something. So how will you represent? Like for example, I will do something like this. This is another user, for example. See, if you see here, there are two parent records and there are two child records. So how will we know that these two child records are belonging to which parent record, right? So for that, what we generally do is we add something called a new thing. Like we have to have a unique number, okay? And then we will use that unique number from this parent record and use it in the child record to understand to what it is mapping, okay? Like for example, I will say iteration 1 and 2. So what we have done, we have given two iterations. And let us consider these are the unique values for each of this parent record. Now similarly, we will add another column here. Okay. Or I can say to which parent iteration it is belonging to. Right. So here if you see, there are two things. Now I can say that for this parent record, I want only one item to be added. But for this second parent record, I want to add 2. So what I will say, I'll say 2 and again 2. Or based on any number, suppose the second person or the second parent record wants to add 5 times, 5 items. So we will put 2 5 times. Ideally, these items should be different, but I'm just telling you or explaining you what this exactly it is, right? So if you see here, the parent record 1, the iteration, has only one item to be added because the parent iteration is 1. And here also the iteration is 1. Now if you see for the second one, right, this is the second parent record. And for this particular person, I want to add, or this person wants to log in and they want to add 5 items. So that is why iteration is 2 and in the child page or the child sheet, we're putting 5 items. Okay. So this is called parent-child relationship or one-to-many relationship from database point of view. I'm just trying to explain how we are bringing that concept into this automation concept. Okay. So now these are related. This one is related to only one child item and this one 2 is related to 5 items. Okay. So we have to change our code now so that it understands that for this parent record, how many child records are there and how do we get those items and how do we use those in our automation script. Okay. So for now, I will just keep them as 3. This also only 2. Yeah, let's keep only 2. I am putting only for one parent record. And I will also remove here the second parent record. I was just explaining you how it works. So now for 1, we have 2 items to be added. Okay. So let's go into the code and see how we have to change. So see, we have got the item initially here, right? We have got the item and we got only one item. But now we have to get all the items which are having the parent record as what is the current record. Okay. So first thing you have to get the iteration, the parent iteration. So we'll get that string parent iteration. is equal to xl dot get cell data of row now, and then we are saying iteration. Okay. So now what did we get in the first sheet? This is my first sheet. I got what is the value of this iteration. Now what you have to do, you have to go into the second sheet 2, and then get all the rows for which the parent iteration is 1. So for that we will write the code now. Now instead of single item, we should have multiple items. So how will we store multiple items? Because there is only one field now, we will go with string array. String array items. Okay. Or maybe you will do array list. Array list of strings. Because we don't know how many number of items can come based on the iteration and parent iteration combination. If you go with an array, what happens is you need to be knowing exactly how many items will be added, right? But if it is an array list, the list can increase. As the number of items increase, you can add the items to the end of the array list. Okay, so that is why you have to go for array list instead of an array. Okay, so items is equal to new array list. Now we have to import this. So I'm doing Control Shift O. Okay, this is gone. Now we have got the details from sheet 1. This is set to sheet 1, right? See here, we have set to sheet 1. Now what we have to do? We have to go to second sheet and get all the records which are related to parent iteration, which we already got, right? So what we will do is, we will now set xl dot set sheet of the second sheet. So the moment I set to the second sheet, we will also get the latest row count based on the second sheet. Okay, so let's get the row count. Xl dot get row count. Okay. Now what we have to do is, see here we have only one parent related relationship. So you can get all the records. But what if you have more parent records and child relations? Then what you should do, you should iterate through all the rows and then find out for which and all parent iteration the value is 1. Right? So for that, first we have to iterate through all the rows in the second sheet. So what I will do, for, and it starts from 1, we know that. And we have the row count. Okay. So this loop allows us to iterate through each row in the second sheet. Now we have to get the value present in item column. So this is the column and also the parent iteration. Now once we got the parent iteration, we will check whether it is same as the one we picked from sheet 1. If it is picked from sheet 1, then only we will add it to our items array list. Okay. So what you will do, first you will get string parent iteration, or you can change this to iteration and this as parent iteration, which is equal to xl dot get cell data of whatever the, see this is the loop for the number of rows, so that's why I'm giving I, and then the column name is parent iteration. Okay, so what we did, we are iterating through each row in second sheet and we first got what is the parent iteration. Now if it is equal to, because everything is string, I am using equals here, actual iteration. Okay. Otherwise you could have said parent iteration double equal to iteration, right? But everything that we are getting from the Excel library is in form of string. That is why we are comparing it like a string. Okay. Then what we will do, then only we will say we will add that particular value. Which value? xl.getCell data of I, and then that particular column name. What is it? It is item. So we will say okay. So what we have done, only if the parent iteration is equal to iteration. This is coming from first sheet, this is coming from second sheet. Only if both are equal, then only I am adding items to add it into that array list. Now, instead of calling this single item, what we will do, we know the size of the items. How will you know the number of items? By getting the size of that particular array list. So, again we can write a for loop here. So let me tell you before that. If you see here, we have added code to add only single item. Now we have to add code in such a way that you can add multiple items at that point of time for that particular iteration. So what you will do, you will add a for loop for int I is equal to 0 to the items size, like how many items are actually added by looping to the second sheet. Okay. Now instead of items, we will say items dot get of I. Okay. Here also you can change. Okay. So here what we are trying to print is the XPath that is used for the each item, right? So what we have done, we have also incremented I plus 1 because I is starting from 0. But when we actually look at the way on the application, we will feel it's the first item added, second item added. So that's why I have incremented it by 1. Even though I is 0, it starts from 1 because I have added plus 1. Now what should happen ideally if you run the script? Ideally what should happen? This first you will log in, and then you will see that this loop will run 2 times because you have 2 items, right? So for example, I'll put 2 also here. I'm just trying to demonstrate to you that even if more number of rows are there, it will only add 2 items. Okay? Because we have written a condition saying that based on the iteration present in sheet 1, pick only those 2 records, because it can be 2 or 3 or whatever number it is, right? What I'm telling is based on the relation, it will pick only the relevant number of records from the second sheet, and only those items will be added. Okay. So now let us execute and see if everything is fine or not. Okay, so right click, run as Java application. So ideally 2 items should be added. Let's see how it adds. Okay, it is logging in. If you see, it went so fast, but there were 2 items that got added. Even you can see here, right? There is Sauce Labs backpack, there is Sauce Labs fleece jacket. And if you remember, there were actually 4 rows in the second sheet, but it only picked the ones which are with parent iteration 1 because we are checking it based on the iteration given in the sheet 1. So that is why only 2 items have been created at the XPath, and only those 2 items have been added to the cart, and it continued the remaining part. So now what happens? For example, now you added only 2 items. But if you want to add multiple items now, what I will do, I'll just add more lines. I will say 1. I'll add one more one. And I'll do something like this, right? I can add whatever the names are present in the application. Now I can add as many number of items I want. I have to just change in my test data Excel file. This is one more advantage of externalizing the data. If you do not externalize the data, what you have to do? You should go to your Excel file, and then you have to, suppose you have hard coded the list of all items instead of a array list being read from the Excel file. Maybe I created item list here itself, items.add of item 1, item 2, item 3, and I have added the code, right? But if tomorrow I want to change the number of items to be added, I have to come to the code and then I have to change. But now what we have done, because we have externalized the data into an Excel file, I have to just come and change the test data in my Excel file and then it will be taken care automatically. I don't even have to change my code. I don't even have to open this file, right? That is the advantage. And this is how you have a relation between parent record and the child record, and then you make sure that based on the parent record, the only set of items which are related to that parent record only should be adding. Okay. There is another advantage also here. When you are externalizing the test data file, tomorrow if you want the customer to fill the test data, you can directly give this Excel file. They will understand because these names are all very understandable, easy to understand. So they can come and change these values. They will come and update these values and then they will execute the scripts. But if you have not externalized the test data and if you want the customer to execute the scripts, sometimes what happens is they will not be comfortable to open the code and then make the changes. And because if they have to do it in the code, they should first know how to do coding, right? Most of the times the customers, they have business users and those business users may not be technically competent, right? So that is why we want to make sure that the business users also should be easily adding the test data to the respective scripts that they are working on or which they want to execute, right? So that is why that is one more advantage of why we should externalize the test data, so that the test data file can be shared to the customer saying that this is this particular scenario, we are adding to cart and then checking out. They will understand what is happening in the script and they know what kind of fields are being interacted in that particular scenario. Based on that, they can fill it automatically. Only thing you have to tell is, okay, if you are doing with multiple parent records, then you have to make sure that you have to enter the values accordingly. And this is only one thing they have to learn when they basically need to understand how to fill the test data, right? And it is not something related to code. It is only about, we are just telling, okay, for this record, this is a unique number. So if you want multiple things, put the same number in the second sheet also, so that it maps and it understands that for one record, there are 3 records. For second record, there are 1 record or 2 records, right? And that is easy for them to understand, nothing related to code, and they can easily fill. So that is the reason why we have to externalize data. And we have seen how you can change the code so that tomorrow if you want to change the number of items to be added, you don't have to change a piece of code in the Java Selenium code. You don't have to open your Eclipse, you don't have to change anything. Okay, so that is the way we have written the code now. Okay, so we have done only for the items now. We have not done for the parent record, right? So for the parent record, we are assuming that only one parent record is there, only one person is logging in, and for them we are adding multiple number of items. So for some customers that is enough, right? I just want to test my script with only one user and then I'll add as many number of records as I want or number of items I want. They will come and fill this data. But there will be cases in some customers, what they want is they want to test the same thing with multiple users also. So what they'll do, they will do iteration 2 and then they'll give another set of users. So you can say like standard user 1 or some password and then this is something else, right? Now what they want is they will have another set of records here for second iteration. Okay, we have already solved the iterating to the child record, that is over. Okay, so you don't have to change anything in that particular code. There may be little change, but it's not a major thing. Okay, now we have to make sure that we are iterating to the same, multiple parent records, right? So for that, what you have to do is you have to change the code in such a way the entire script runs n number of times. Like suppose there are 100 records, the script should run 100 times. So basically you will need one more for loop. Okay. Now we will see this in the next video. So what I request you to do is, we are putting a lot of efforts in sharing the knowledge. If you feel that it is adding value to you, please hit that like button And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so that you will not miss the next videos. Like if you see, I was just saying that we have to continue the remaining part of how to iterate the parent records in the next video. So you should be knowing as when the next video will come if you are really interested to learn how it is going on in the real-time projects, right? So that's why we are asking so much. I know, see, this is a kind of small encouragement and help that we are asking to subscribe and share with people and watch video properly. And watching end to end is not something I am asking for me, it is for you, because every second in the video can be important. We might be talking important points which might be relevant to actual scenarios that we're doing in real-time projects. And you will not hear these kind of things from other trainers or any other videos. I just wanted to make sure that I am sharing the such kind of knowledge which is done in real-time projects. Okay, so try to watch the video properly end to end and share it with others also, so that they will also gain the knowledge. Okay, thank you so much. Stay tuned.